Chris's Magic. This is week 8, but today is something a bit different. This isn't a magic trick. This is a tutorial this week. Not a tutorial on a magic trick. I said I wasn't going to do that, but instead it's a tutorial on the Riffle Shuffle and Cascade effect. So if you've watched the channel before, firstly, thank you so much for watching and continuing to watch. Secondly, on some of the tricks, you'll have noticed me do this. When you see how it's done and what it looks like, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's a tutorial on how to do that. It's the Riffle Shuffle and the Cascade. So they're two separate things, but they come together to form one shuffle, essentially. So it's a different type of shuffle rather than your normal overhand shuffle. There's a lot of tutorials out there. I've looked at loads through my time learning magic. Some are good, some are bad, some are helpful, some are not helpful. So hopefully this one ticks the boxes in terms of the helpful and good. But again, leave your feedback, any questions, suggestions, and if it worked and if you're able to do it, that would be great. And also hit the like and the subscribe. And if you're new to watching, thank you for coming to check us out, and hit that subscribe button as well. Really, really helps the channel. So without further ado, here's a tutorial for the Riffle Shuffle and Cascade effect. Okay, so here is the Riffle Shuffle and Cascade effect tutorial. It's in two parts, the Riffle Shuffle and then a Cascade. The Cascade is optional. If you've ever been to a casino, they do the Riffle Shuffle, they don't do the Cascade part, but let me show you what it looks like with the Cascade as well. So that's basically it. So there's two parts to this. I'll show you how I think you should be, or how I learned to do it anyway. So I did it in 3 parts. So first part is the Riffle Shuffle. So the Riffle Shuffle is simply this. So that's the Riffle Shuffle. So let me show you how to do that. So what you want to do is hold the, let me point out as well, it's a much easier, I found, with an old deck because the cards are softer, they're easier to bend. A new deck, they're much more rigid and much more difficult to bend. So I found it easier with an old deck. So if you have an older deck, I encourage you to use that. But anyway, here's the Riffle Shuffle. So what you're going to do is hold the cards like this. So you've got your thumb on the inside. Let me angle that up like that. You've got your fingers on the outside, but they're curled round. When we get into it, they'll be curled round like that. So the cards are stuck in the grooves of your fingers, so they can't move anywhere. And then your index finger is pushed down on the top, and you can see slightly now there's a little bit of a bend. When we get into it properly, they're going to bend a lot like that. So much of this is about pressure and releasing the pressure, and to do that you create a bend, which is why it's easier with an older deck. So yeah, so you've got it like this. Your fingers are wrapped round, your thumb's on the edge, your index finger is on top like this, pressing down. And essentially what you're doing is riffling the cards off with your thumb. So the way you do that is you push up with your thumb and then you just release and slide the thumb that way. So what will happen is this. So you can see they're being riffled off. But obviously what you want to do, as you saw in the what it looks like, is you want them in 2 parts. So you need your other hand for this. So we're going to have a top half and a bottom half. So the bottom half is going to slide off and riffle off like you just saw, but you're going to use your fingertips here to rest them so they don't fly out everywhere. So you're going to go like this. So you're just going to rest them like this, so they're resting. And then what you're going to do, you're going to try, what you need then to do is create the 2 separate piles, both, in this case, cards face up. So you're going to take your thumb, put it into the gap where the 2 halves separate. And then you're going to push them down so they lie on your fingers like this. And what you've got, this top half here, is almost like a wall, which is pushing against the cards lightly, not heavily, just pushing against them. So the only choice you have when you move the bottom half, essentially you use your fingers on the bottom half to push the cards up. They're going to slide up that wall. And when you reach to, I don't know what angle that is, but slightly above horizontal, you're going to change your grip slightly on the bottom half. So you're going to get your index finger and replace your thumb with your index finger, and then slide up some more. And then when you can, you're going to reach your thumb over the side. And then you're just going to swivel them. So you're like this, use your fingers to swivel into position. And then what you have is this. exactly the same grip on the bottom half as you do on the top half. So thumb on the inside, your index finger pressing down, creating pressure, and your fingers wrap round. And then what you're going to do is put them on the table. And as you put them on the table, you're going to change your grip. So the grip on both halves. So the grip is this. So instead of your fingers wrapped round, they're just resting with your fingertips on the edge. Your fingertip or your index finger is just pressing down. It still creates pressure, but because you've got the table here, you don't need as much pressure with your index finger because the table will create pressure as well and support. What you saw on the how to do it right at the start when it was done in the air, you don't have that support, which is why you need a lot more pressure. And with the riffle as well. So yeah, and your thumb is where it always has been, on the inside. And all you're going to do is riffle them at the same time. So you're going to lift your thumb up, and because of your index finger there and the support of the table, you'll create that bend that you created in the air. And then you just riffle down simultaneously at the same time. But you need them to overlap and weave in. So there's no point doing it like that because they're not going to go anywhere. So what you want is an overlap, either an angle or as close to flush as you can. And you're just going to keep your fingers where they are, and your thumb is going to do all the work. So the thumb is just going to release and lift up, and then they'll riffle off. And then you can take your hands away. I'm not sure if you can see that. Probably a bit light, but they are weaved in. Let me push them in a bit more. Let me lift them up so you can see there that they're weaved in. And then all you're going to do is, you don't need any pressure for this. All you're going to do is take your fingers. It can either be one or it can be all four. And you're just going to push in from the side, from the sides, and then they'll slide in flush. And then you just wrap them up. So again, one quick more time. We're going to do the riffle like that. Put them down, change your grip, riffle them in together, weave them in. Take all your hands away, and then just push them in. As soon as they all start weaving in, at the moment you've got them like that, when they all start weaving in, then it becomes much easier, but you don't need a huge amount of force. So that's the riffle shuffle. So I highly encourage you to learn that first. That'll give you the kind of basics on how this works and how the pressure works. So I highly encourage you to learn that. And once you've learned that, you can then move on to the Cascade. So if you have any trouble with the Cascade and want to go back to the riffle shuffle, just wind the video back. But the Cascade is essentially exactly the same at the start. So you got your grip there, index finger, thumb, fingers wrap round, riffle down onto your, rest them onto your fingers, reach your thumb over, angle them down, push them up the wall, replace your thumb with your index finger, twist them up, twist them up, and then exactly the same, grip, thumb, index finger press down, fingers wrap round, change your grip to do the riffle. So fingertips on the outside, fingertips of your index finger, putting pressure, riffle them down. And then from here, you're not good. Oh, let me do that again, then falling apart there. Let me quickly do that. So from here, where you would normally take your hands away, you're not going to do that. So again, let me show you. So you're not going to take your hands away this time. What you're going to do, we've got to this point here, so they're all riffled. And what you're going to do is replace your index finger with thumbs. So your thumbs press down now. Your index fingers are free. Your other fingers are still on the side. And your index finger is going to join them at the same time while pressing down with your thumbs. And what you're going to do, because your thumbs are pressed down, your fingers are going to lift up. And that creates a bend there. So you can reach underneath the packets. And then you're just going to slide your fingers underneath so they wrap round. And then lift up with your thumb. You're then going to angle the cards so they're kind of flush like this, rather than at an angle, and then you're ready to begin. So here you've got your fingers wrapped round. The cards are in the grooves of your fingers. They can't go up because your fingers, the hand and your thumb is in the way, and they can't go down because of our gravity. Your fingers are down at the bottom, and your thumbs are creating pressure. You don't want to release your thumb because they'll slide up like that and eventually separate. So you need your thumbs So like that, that's the Riffle Shuffle. Replace your index finger with your thumb, curl your fingers round, and then push them in. And then you're ready to begin. So what's going to happen here, this is all about pressure. So you're going to twist your wrists, essentially clockwise for the right hand and anti-clockwise for the left hand. So your right hand is going to go like that, and your left hand is going to go like that. As you can see, you do them one at a time, the other end just reaches up. But if you do them together, you get this bend there. And that's what you're looking for. That's the pressure that you're looking for, that bend. And your thumb creates the bend as well, because that creates the pressure. Your thumbs, sorry. So if you do them together, what will happen, your fingers will stay where they are, curled round. The bottom, stopping gravity taking effect. Your thumbs will then stop anti-gravity taking effect. But all the cards want to do, because they're sprung like this, is rise up and release, but they can't because of your thumbs. And then the other force, gravity, can't happen because your fingers are at the bottom. And then you just release them into this cascade. So the way you do that is with the thumb still pressed down, you put your fingers at the bottom into a kind of cradle. And it's a close cradle. You can see my hands are really close together there. And you can see, certainly on this side, where the cards are, they're in my hands there, the fingers are below, so they can't slide out because the fingers are there, and they can't go up because the pads of my hand are there. And then what essentially you're doing is releasing your hands and widening that grip, so that cradle where you can see my finger here is on my knuckle, essentially it's going to end up here, and that's going to happen with all the fingers. Same with these ones here. And if I do this slowly, you should be able to see the cards start to fall like this. And then if you release them properly, they'll all fall down. So essentially what you're doing, you've got your grip like this. It'll go like that. And then all you're doing with your hand is sliding your hands out like that. That's essentially what you're doing. And that will release the cards. If you do them, you've got to find that sweet spot. And that's what takes practice. It took me almost a year to do this. So that is the part that takes practice. The Riffle Shuffle was fairly quick. But yeah, so if you release them too quick, they'll just fall down like that, and they won't fall down flush. They'll separate. So you can see cards are angled out that way and angled out that way. Again, if you don't put enough pressure on, pressure creates the bend. So if you don't have enough bend, that's not enough pressure. That will have a similar effect. And they'll just fall down. But you will, when you're practicing this, if you're anything like me anyway, you'll end up having cards flying out everywhere, falling all over the floor, everything like that. So, and when you first start as well, when you do this, you won't have the kind of flush and one. So you can see there's not a huge amount of clumps there. So what will happen when you first start? I can't do this now. I'll have to simulate it. You can see they're all clumped there. So there's clumps of cards there rather than the right one, the left one, the right one, the left one, like that. And when you have right, left, that's what creates the sound when you cascade over like that. If you have them all clumped, but that comes with practice. That's all to do with muscle memory, which guitar players will know, muscle memory and finger dexterity. So you need to keep practicing this, the riffle and the cascade, to increase your finger dexterity. So when I did this, the cascade, I couldn't do it for a year. They're all falling all over the place. They weren't cascading properly, almost gave up, and then tried it again a week later. And then all of a sudden it worked absolutely fine. And that's because the muscle memory and the dexterity was there. I just didn't realize it had improved. So yeah, it's quite frustrating, but you will get there if you practice. So again, you riffle there, you replace your index fingers with your thumbs. The other finger, the index finger joins your other fingers underneath the deck. Push up with your fingers to create the gap underneath the pile. Lift them up, slide them in. So you angle them in so that they're at an angle at that point. So as you lift them up, you angle them round so they're flush. You then rotate your wrists, your right hand and clockwise, left hand anti-clockwise, simultaneously together. See my arms there turning. Fingers stay at the bottom, thumbs stay at the top. And like I said, certainly here, if you release your thumbs, they'll fall apart like that. So let me get back into that position again. So yeah, you've got your fingers like this, curled round. And it doesn't necessarily matter if one's curled more than the other. You can see that one's curled more than the other, but the pressure is still there. So you release your fingers into a cradle, thumbs are still pressed down. You don't need them really hard force pressed down. You just need them enough so that the cards can't go anywhere. Again, that's the sweet spot. And then you just relax your hands and slide your fingers away from each other. The cradle there, you slide them away, that will release the cards. Like that. And when they start falling, you leave your hands there. Otherwise, you get them just falling down and not cascading like I showed you earlier. So you release your hands, but you need to release them a little bit more until they all fall down. So at the start, some of them are falling down like this. So if you release them a little bit more will fall down. You need to find a sweet spot where they all fall down. And that's basically the cascade. So I highly encourage you, like I said, to do the riffle shuffle first on the table and then push the cards together. When you've done that, learn the cascade on top of that, but do the riffle on the table. That will create the support and allow your finger dexterity to really take effect, going from left, right, left, right, left, right, because you've got the support of the table. That will give you your muscle memory in your hands of how to riffle the cards down. And then when you've done that, you can then do everything in the air. So you can do the riffle in the air. So which is like this, and then go into the cascade. Now the riffle in the air, where we did the riffle on the table, so get into this position where you flip the cards off, grab your, replace your index finger with your thumb and angle the cards up the wall and then get into the grip. So where we went here and then we changed our grip to this with the index finger and the fingers just using the fingertips. We're not doing that. What we're essentially doing, you get into this grip here. Let me do that again. Where you're in this grip here, you do not change this grip. It's exactly the same grip. So your fingers are wrapped round with the cards stuck in the grooves of your fingers. Your index finger is pushed down, kind of the knuckle down as well, and your thumb is on the inside. And this is how you riffle. You just riffle like this. So you just do exactly the same. So you lift your thumb up, that creates the bend because your index finger is pressed down, and you riffle down like this. And from here, again, here it's exactly the same as you did on the table. So your index finger is there, you replace that with your thumb, index finger goes round, and then you push them in. And then this is exactly the same as the cascade now. So you rotate your wrists, release your fingers, and then release your hands. So that's the only difference. So let me just go through that quickly again. So rather than putting them on the table and changing the grip, you keep the same grip, fingers wrapped round, index finger pressed down, thumbs on the inside, lift them up, lift your thumbs up to create that bend with the index finger pushing down, and then riffle at an angle. And when you've done that, replace your index finger with your thumb, index finger goes round underneath. And you can see they're angled here. So all you do is you twist them round like this. And because they're weaved in, they're not going to slide anywhere because there is friction there to stop them from sliding around because the cards are connecting to each other. So they will not slide around. And when you've done that, and you don't need a huge amount of overlap, maybe a centimetre. You can see that there. So you've done that. And then it's rotating your wrists with your thumbs on the top, releasing your fingers, and then lengthening your fingers away from each other. And that's basically it. 3 things there: the riffle shuffle, the cascade, and then the riffle shuffle and cascade in the air. And once you've been able to do that, you'll find, certainly with a cascade, you'll find it's very, very difficult to not be able to do it, if that makes sense. When you're first learning, it's very difficult to do it and you can't do it. When you first do it the first time and you're able to do it the first time, because your muscle memory is there and your finger dexterity is there, which doesn't go away, you'll find it will be very, very difficult to not be able to do it. You'll be able to do it instantly every time, and then you can get to a point where you can do them fairly quickly, like so. But yeah, do them slowly first of all. So I'll do this in the air, but do that first of all. Make sure you've got that there, and then so able to riffle them. You want about halfway, and then make sure you can slide them up without them falling apart. You don't want them kind of like this, because then you're not going to be able to do anything with them. You're going to have to get them in your hand and then faff around and put them together. So make sure you can get them fairly flush like that, and then make sure the riffle, you create the pressure. Make sure you can do them slowly. It doesn't matter how quickly you do it. And then, whereas I did this quite quickly, bent them and then released them quite quickly. Don't do that at the start. Make sure you've got the bend. Make sure they're angled into your fingers so they don't go anywhere. Your thumb's pressing down and you've got that bend. And then, whereas I did this in one fluid move, the releasing the hands like this into a cradle and then a lengthening them away. Don't do that. Do it slowly, and then release them slowly like this, slide away to find that sweet spot. And when you find that sweet spot, you'll see here they'll all fall down. That's the sweet spot there. So yeah, a couple of tips as well. You can see they're bent now because I've done that, and that's because of the bend. So they're bent with face up on the top. So when you do this each time, make sure when you do it the next time, you're doing it this way. So they're bent this way. To make sure when you do it this time, I'm not really sure what you call it, the in bend is on the top. So it's bent this way. So make sure you riffle that way and do the whole thing that way. And you can see now the bend is the opposite way with the face up. So then make sure you do it face up. And you can see again, it's bent face down. And what that does, it stops the bend from carrying on. So it stops you always doing it this way, and then the bend become really ridiculous and keeps the cards flat. And this is what also uses the cards up and wears them out. So it's really useful to know that. Secondly, like I've already reiterated, learn the riffle shuffle part first. So just the riffle, this part, and then pushing the cards in. Learn that part first, and then move on to the cascade with the riffle done on the table. And then learn the cascade, and then finally do the whole thing all in the air. We really encourage you to go through that. Don't try and start the whole in the air instantly, unless you've used cards before and know how to riffle and can riffle them kind of weaving in one at a time. Otherwise you might get frustrated that way. So yeah, it's a long process. Took me a year, probably even longer, to be honest, to do everything in the air, but it is worth it, because I can tell you from experience, when you say to friends, or I've said to friends, do you want to see a magic trick? And they say yes, but in the way that, go on then, get it out of the way. As soon as you do this, you can see them think, oh, actually, he might know what he's doing. So while it looks pretty cool, it's done for a functional thing, because it makes you look like you know what you're doing and can handle a pack of cards. And that's quite important as well, certainly if you want to get into magic. But yeah, that's a tutorial. Like I say, try and learn the riffle shuffle on its own first. If you then move on to the cascade and it's not working, you want to go back to the riffle shuffle, you've got this video, it's on YouTube forever, so you can just go back. Same with the cascade as well. And yeah, hope you liked the tutorial, hope it was helpful. Please let me know in the comments how you found it, any tips for future tutorials that you've got on my kind of tutorial technique. And also as well, which would be really nice for me, is if you have tried to do this and it does work, and you've been able to get it to work due to this video, it'd be really great to hear this kind of success stories. That'd be really good. And yeah, really fulfilling for me. And yeah, hope you liked the tutorial. There'll be a few more. I know a few more flourishes, so I'll do tutorials for them, but I'll spread them out. So there'll be mainly tricks and then a tutorial here and there. I won't do 3 tutorials in a row. But yeah, back next week with trick number 8. No idea what that'll be yet, but yeah, there'll be a trick next week. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope the tutorial helped, and happy practicing.